Yo, sup guys? I'm Nodder, and I'm gonna go over my Memphis Guzzlords draft analysis for the Hive. Now, the Hive is another one of those leagues like the GBA, like the tier draft GBA, not the current one where it's free draft. So you have your 5 tiers. You pick one from 1 and 2, two from 3, yada yada. You'll know the rest. You'll know the rest. And so, when I first originally, I didn't really have anything in mind that I wanted to draft, except maybe make Mega Gallade and Jirachi, but Jirachi got taken, the first pick taken, gone. Not a surprise, not a surprise. And then when it got to my turn, I was actually like out touring a college, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to hold up the draft because I was already holding it up for 3 hours, and so I picked Zapdos because Zapdos, I think it's actually a really annoying Pokemon. Just like most people agree, it takes a lot to prep for. You're gonna basically need to bring Toxic on at least like 3 Pokemon to even try to deal with it. But yeah, it's also a pretty good defogger in my opinion. I like how it gets recovery, and it's also a ground immunity right off the bat. That's pretty good to have. A pretty good fighting resist. That's also another thing good to have, and a good flying resist. So you see, I like its typing a lot. It only has 2 weaknesses to deal with. And with that being said, I thought, okay, it's a good start. And then right after, I was pretty late in the draft, and you know how it's snake draft. So like right after one person, it became my turn again. And I was like, oh shoot, Infernape's out there. So I chose Infernape because this thing's hecka strong, hella strong, whatever. It also has a lot of great utility too, like taunt, U-turn, stealth rock being pretty important. As you can see, my team, it's kind of lacking in stealth rockers. I have Infernape, Tyrantrum, and Mega Steelix. So that is one of the downsides. I will go over the drawbacks. I will go over why I picked what exactly as I am right now. But yeah, so then Infernape's just strong. It gives me a fighting type, which I like to have fighting types. It gives me a physical fire type, which I just think they're really good in League. Physical specifically. The special ones, okay, obviously Megazard Y is really good, right? But I just think stuff like Chandelure and maybe Salazzle, I just don't think they're that good. As, but I'm not sure if the fact that they're special or fire types would has an influence on that. But then, then at some point I wanted a water resist because obviously water resists are good to have, and so my grass type I chose to be a Mungus. And it also gives me a fairy resist too, which is also something I thought I needed. And also an electric resist. But you see, the point is like it can just spore stuff. Honestly, in hindsight, I wish I chose Decidueye because Decidueye gives me another defogger, and as you can see, overall at the end of the draft, I really lack hazard control. I only have Zapdos, which is good, but I don't want to have to bring defog Zapdos every time I see someone with like spikes or whatever. And so, yeah, I really wish I had Decidueye. Yeah, but Amoonguss is okay. I also find it redundant with Wheezing. I'll explain why I chose Wheezing in a bit, because Wheezing actually is pretty important for my team. But overall, I do think Amoonguss definitely works. It's definitely not a bad Pokemon. But I don't think it's that good. I do think it's a little passive, and I think it's pretty easy to prep for. But moving on, we have Greninja. Now, I'm so glad I got Greninja. I actually sniped someone with the Greninja, and I was like, yay. Because Greninja is really fast, and it's a fast Dark type. Now, the only fast Dark type I've ever actually used in League was Weavile, so this was pretty fun. Like, every time I go into draft, I always try to pick new things. Which, with Zapdos and Infernape, I already chose these two. Same with Snorlax. And pretty sure with Wheezing, but the rest of them are new. And so with Greninja, I just felt so excited to use it because it gives you fast utility too. So I got spikes and T-spikes. Even though I'm lacking Stealth Rock, I still also have spikes with Greninja potentially. That's pretty cool. And then also it's pretty fast. And even though it doesn't have Protean because it's torn, obviously, it's not even weak. It's still not weak if you ask me. Like Hydro Pump is still pretty strong from this thing. Well, okay, I mean that would be stabby the way. I mean, like Ice Beam would still be pretty strong from this thing. All right, okay, good. Okay, and then at this point, I realized I don't exactly have a wall breaker because yes, Infernape and Greninja they're both strong, but I wouldn't really consider them wall breakers. Infernape maybe, but I don't know. You don't really see Greninja breaking through special walls that well, especially without Protein. So I chose Tyrantrum. Now Tyrantrum's actually hecka strong. It's just the head smash without the recoil is so amazing. Let me tell you, it's just steel types can't really stop it because it resists both stabs, but this thing gets superpower and earthquake, and in a in a league where all your Pokemon are allowed Z moves at, just easy fighting Z. Don't ask me why. I mean, the logic is that you're only going to use a few Pokemon anyway for Z moves. But let's see. I can use Infernape, Greninja, Tyranitar, Alakazam, potentially Lax. And I've chosen Weezing as my status Z move mon because in this league you can have one Pokemon for status. I'll explain why once I go over Weezing. I want to go over Weezing last. And also, it gives me another Stealth Rocker, which, like I said, I've been lacking over time. And it gives me most importantly, it gives me a late game sweeper as well. Not only a wall breaker, but at the same time a late game cleaner with Dragon Dance. Assuming I weaken the Steel type or they're out of the way, I send in Tyrantrum. It just Dragon Dances up. It just wins the game. And that's pretty cool. I'm sorry if I'm a little quiet. My parents are sleeping. But, yeah. Anyways, I like it for the fact that it's a wall breaker and a late game cleaner. And then I also like having bulky waters on every draft. I don't think a draft is complete without that reliable fire resist, if you will. And so I chose Vaporeon because this thing's just. It also, I will tell you this right now. I planned on drafting Mega Steelix for. Oh shoot. Okay, I did plan on drafting Mega Steelix from the beginning, so I knew that I wanted some sort of wish recovery for my steel friend because obviously it lacks that. And so, Wish Passer, right? That's good. Check. Heal Bell, check, because I like having a Heal Bell user, obviously. Scald user, check. I'd rather run Hydro Pump on Greninja. And then, okay, I honestly forgot if I mentioned Wish, but, Wish. Okay. And then, basically fills a nice role. It's pretty annoying. It's also roar things out, which is pretty nice. Gives me a phaser, if you will. Though I already had Clear Smog, Amoonguss, and Roll and Zapdos, but it's good to have another thing. And now at this point, this is where I just picked whatever was good. I was still there, to be honest. No, except for Comfy. I got sniped with Gramble, which is why I chose Comfy. And I guess I'll go over that first now that I'm talking about Comfy. See, originally I liked Gramble, and I know Gramble's not that great of a fairy type, but I was planning on getting a tier 4 fairy, either Aromatisse or Gramble. I thought, well, I already have one Wish Passer, so Aromatisse isn't that necessary. And I thought Gramble is cool because even though it lacks recovery, it has better physical bulk, which at this point in time, ignore. I know I have Weezing and Mega Steelix at this moment, but I know I had Weezing at this moment, but I didn't really have anything super physically defensive. I mean, Mega Steelix is super defensive, and I planned on getting that, but it's still a bit vulnerable to common physical typing, so I wouldn't use that as a physical wall. And so I was like, okay, Gramble is good because it really stops them pretty well. Although it lacks recovery, I have Wish support with Vaporeon, right? But then I sniped Jake with Greninja, and then Jake snipes me with Gramble, and I'm like, god damn it. So I chose Comfy. It was either that or Slurpuff, don't blame me. But then as I was looking through Comfy move pool, it actually has some pretty good utility. It gets U-turn, it gets taunt, it also, the priority moves. And maybe I should not say this now, but Triage, the ability that gives priority moves to healing moves like Draining Kiss and Synthesis, Draining Kiss still works on dark types. And so does Leech Seed. It's not like Prankster. Triage moves still work against dark types. I thought that was pretty cool. And I just think every team needs a fairy type, to be honest. I'm pretty sure I went through a draft without a fairy type a few years ago when I was new. Or last year when I was new, and it was really bad. So that's the thing, it's good to have a fairy type. And I like its utility too. It really surprised me. I didn't look through its move pool before drafting it. And then before that, right, I saw Alakazam, and I'm like, why is Alakazam not picked yet? Alakazam is personally, I honestly think, Alakazam is one of the best Pokemon in the League format. I know it's not like a tier 1 god, but that's the thing, it's a tier 2 god, so you don't need to pick it up round 1 or round 2 in order to actually have it. It's really, really good. In my opinion, it's strong, it's fast, and it has a lot of good utility like Taunt and Encore. And Magikarp, Magikarp is what makes it for me. Because, like, the fact that you can slap a Life Orb on this thing without having it take recoil, I just think is really good. Like, that's really good. It also gives you, like, essentially, oh, excuse me. Essentially, Alakazam gives me a potential wall breaker with its, like, strength with Life Orb. It gives me a check against offense as a Focus Sash user. And in a way, I think Alakazam could potentially be a stall breaker, but, you know, I'm not gonna say that too confidently. I mean, we'll have to see later on. But I think it has the potential with its utility moves. It gives me strength. It gives me speed, and like the speed isn't exactly necessary because I do have Greninja, but it gives me another fast Pokemon, which is always good to have. That's like speed tier wise. I think I'm okay, to be honest. Like, I'm not. I don't. Personally, I disagree with the fact like, oh, you need a one Pokemon at 130, you need one at 120, you need one at 110. I'm like, for me, you just have a few fast Pokemon and you're good. To be honest, that's what I think. To be honest, and I'm not as good as like Gypsy or whatever, but I'm a pretty good battler. So like you can take my word for some things. So you know that being one of them, I feel like. And then yeah, so Alakazam's really good. We already went over Comfy. Okay, and then I still needed one more tier 3, and I was just looking through, and I was like, why is Snorlax still around? Why is Snorlax still around? Dude, it's so good. So I drafted it. And I really think Snorlax is good, especially in prep. Having to prep for it, I mean. Because it's just, if you don't prep for it, you're going to lose to it. That's basically it. But, I mean, because, you know, how do you stop Curse, Lax, without bring the bulky Colbert Ghost type or the Roar or the Whirlwind? You know, like, how do you beat it? How would you beat it? And so that's the thing. Like, even though most times people, including me, will probably bring like a standard Curse Lax Rest Talk with like Body Slam or whatever, I think it can do other things too. Like, it has a really big move pool. You can run a Band potentially or Assault Vest potentially, but I like Band Lax. I don't like Assault Vest Lax that much, to be honest. But on this team, I have a good Wish Passer, so maybe, but I love Snorlax's huge move pool. And I think that it can work really well with my team because I have some pretty good Steel-type checks. I think Infernape is good, obviously. And Vaporeon, I suppose, stops them. Zapdos stops them. You know what I mean? So I think with this support I have, I think I can beat the rest of my team can essentially beat the stuff that beats Snorlax. So I think it has really good synergy with my team, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, and then it was finally time to pick Mega Steelix. There were only a few of us left to pick Megas, and to be honest, I found out what they were going to pick, so I just didn't need to worry about it. I chose Mega Steelix before Weezing because I needed the points. Because Weezing's a lower tier Mega, so you get points from it. And so, yeah, I really liked it. I really like it for, obviously, it gives me the ground type. I like drafting 2 ground types, to be honest, but drafting 1 is okay. Originally, for my 11th pick, I was going to pick Clay. I'll explain why I didn't later. But yeah, Steel is going to be a ground type, gives me the Steel type, and Steel types are mandatory in draft. Like, they provide so many crucial resistances. I find it hard to win without having a Steel type in the draft, honestly. And yeah, it gives me that. It really completes the team, in my opinion, with that ground Steel type. It gives me a defensive rocker, which I prefer to use, to be honest. And it's also pretty strong, too. Like, I mean, Heavy Slam and Earthquake from this thing, they're going to hit pretty hard. And that's what I like about it. It's not passive like most Steel types are. It also gives me more utility than just Stealth Rock, as in Dragon Tail or Roar. And I'm trying to think of the rest of this move. Well, it has some pretty good coverage moves, too. Like Fire Fang, Ice Fang, Stone Edge, but when I'm going to use those, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, so basically Steelix is needed to complete the draft, in my opinion. And then my 11th pick, for the last pick, I always choose something that patches up my team's weaknesses. And I originally liked Claydol because it gave me a rapid spinner, which, I mean, like I said, I like having hazard. I like having hazard control, and as I've mentioned, this team definitely lacks hazard control. It only has Zapdos. So I was gonna pick Claydol, but then I realized I needed something more bulky because I have some defensive Pokemon, but nothing that's really bulky. You know what I mean? Especially on the physical side, like special side. I got Snorlax. That's all I need. But on the physical side, nothing too, nothing that really screams physically defensive on my draft so far. Maybe a Mungus, maybe Vaporeon, maybe Zapdos. Okay, so some of them do like possibly, but nothing that's like super super good. And that's why I chose Weezing, because Weezing gives me another ground immunity, which I actually thought I needed, to be honest, because Zapdos I felt wasn't enough. And so, but the difference from Claydol is that it gives me a lot more physical bulk. Because, both are ground immunities, but I felt like Weezing gives me the physical bulk I need. It also has a lot of great utility, which is why I chose as my Z move mod. Because, especially Z Haze, that gives Weezing his recovery. And yeah, it's obviously good. It also has T-Spikes, it also has Destiny Bond, it also has Clear Smog. It has a ton of good utility moves. Will-O-Wisp, obviously. I don't know how I missed that. And yeah, that's the thing. It's just such a good, strong defensive wall. Strong as a defensive wall, not offensively strong. And so about my draft as a whole, I think I really like how much pressure it has. Honestly, my previous Hive drafts, which have been, well, Hive used to be called the CBA. So my CBA drafts they were pretty mediocre, to be honest. The first two especially. My Steel type in Season 2 was Wormadale. But then last season it was okay. But personally, I thought it still had some sort of vulnerability to certain Pokemon. Particularly offensive water types, because I had no grass type, and my water resist was Slowbro, which is a good water resistance, but that's it. And about this draft, that's the thing. I don't see it being vulnerable to particularly any typing. Maybe dark, but I don't think so. Honestly, I mean, I think I'm fine against dark types. I don't really have a resistance wise. I have only one defensive, but like the rest of these, they can eat dark type moves. Zapdos, Vaporeon, Steelix, Weezing, Snorlax, they can eat dark type moves, so I think I'm fine. And then I love the offense it has, because Alakazam, Greninja, Infernape. Honestly, I've always said, like, firstly, my favorite Pokemon in League include, not only, but include Infernape, Snorlax, and Alakazam. And I have all three of these on the same team, so that feels really cool. And, looking at other teams, there's not much. There aren't many teams that I'm like, oh shoot, I'm absolutely going to get 6-0'd by this guy. I have nothing for this, nothing for that. Like, I feel well prepared for most Pokemon League format, because that goes beyond typing. I mean, something like Weavile, you can't just have a fairy type for the dark resist. You know what I mean? Like, it goes beyond that. You can't just... What's a Pokemon that resists both the Weavile stabs? Okay, hold on, let me think here. I guess Houndoom, but it's in a row. That's the thing, like, they got low kick. And my point is that it goes beyond the typing. You also need to consider Pokemon's power. Weavile is really fast and really strong. That's the thing, like, Pokemon like that, I'm not particularly afraid of with this draft. Because I just feel like I have so many defensive options, and I have so many offensive options too. I have a pretty good Volt Turn core. I mean, I'm not going to run Volt Switch on Zapdos that much, to be honest. But I have Greninja and Infernape for the double U-turn core. I don't know what to say about that, to be honest. The rest of it, overall, so I'm going to go over the drawbacks now. So basically the pros were really good pressure and I didn't really talk about this, but Pokemon I like to use. I love using most of these Pokemon. The only one I don't really like to use, honestly, is Vaporeon, because I really, really don't like passive Pokemon. I could, yeah, I know Vaporeon gets scald, but I still consider it passive. With my exception with passive Pokemon is Steel types, but whatever, because most Steel types are passive anyway. And that's the thing. All right, so pros, fun Pokemon, a lot of pressure, great defense, great offense. But downside, I don't like the lack of defog, lack of hazard removal. Lack of hazard removal is probably like my biggest downside. And then specifically, I don't like Amoonguss on this team now that I got Weezing, because Weezing gives me a much better fighting resist in my opinion, because it's way harder to like take advantage of with like coverage moves, like because with Amoonguss you have to watch out for Ice Punch, Zen Headbutt, but with Weezing you only have to watch out for Zen Headbutt, and not as many fighting types get Zen as they do Ice Punch. And even then, I'm sure Weezing can eat one because it's more physically defensive than Amoonguss. And yeah. So specifically, I wish I got either Decidueye or maybe even Dhelmise, but I don't know. Dhelmise lacks recovery. I feel like that'd be too many walls without recovery. But I just wish I got Decidueye would be ideal, but freaking Paladin, man. I asked him, hey, want to trade Amoonguss for Decidueye? And he says no. But man, like this trade would benefit me so well. Not him. It would actually be really bad for him, but it'd benefit me so much. Like, it was Tyrantrum's good. I don't know. Not much else to go over. I mean, I really think this is a well balanced team. Has some great offense, some great defense, and I think I'm pretty good. I mean, I definitely lose pretty badly every now and then. I won't lie, but I think I'm still pretty good. Good enough to win and potentially win the Hive with this draft. And yeah, all right, that's it. Leave a like, sub, follow Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Snapchat, all the rest of them. Good stuff. See ya.